You ready, Denise?
I'm ready. Here.
You still want me to read who's on the phone? Or not? Huh? Okay. All right. Well, good morning and welcome to the Todd County Board of Commissioners June 16th, 2020 board meeting. Welcome to the public if you're viewing us online, and if you have any questions, you can email them in to the clerk. All commissioners are present, and those on the phone are Ted Gray, City of Long Prairie, Public Works, Lauren Feldbaum, Sheriff Steve Ock, Planning and Zoning, Adam Ossifort. Sarah, is she on the phone or is she here in person? Sarah, you on the phone? Anyway, media is Karen and Jason from Eagle Bend and Barville, and Long Prairie broadcast on YouTube. Mike Wozanowski is doing the broadcasting. In person is our auditor treasurer, our coordinator, and HHS Jackie Ock, and our facilities administrator Mitch Johnson will be here also and present. So please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, is there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, if we have none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as is?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consent items.
Consent items today are the meeting minute approval from June 2nd, 2020, a gambling permit for Big Lake Sportsman's Club, Long Prairie Lions, one-day temporary on-sale liquor license, resignation of a part-time correctional officer, a second resignation of a part-time correctional officer, a resignation of custodian, and the hire of a seasonal help out at the solid waste facility.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Auditor Treasurer.
The first item I have today then is the commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $74,300.57.
Okay, you've heard the board action. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Next item I have then is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH payment and a regular manual payment totaling the amount of $200,479.80.
Okay, you've heard the board action. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
The next item is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. A background is sent for your review. Recommendation to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants in an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling the amount of $81,044.88.
Okay, you've heard the board action. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Discussion? Not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
The last item I have today then is the 2020 Todd County Election Emergency Plan. The background is in 2016, the Minnesota State Legislature passed a law requiring that counties create a local elections emergency plan. The Auditor Treasurer's Office has gathered vital information from our County Emergency Management Director, along with our municipality leaders within Todd County, and have compiled all the necessary information into a formal plan document. The election plan must be filed with the Office of the Minnesota Secretary of State by July 1 of every even-numbered year. Our options are to adopt the plan or do not adopt the plan. Our recommendation is to adopt the Todd County Elections Emergency Plan as presented. And just some further information, this is just everything we do every 2 years. It has nothing to do with COVID. This is an emergency plan if a tornado would come through, if a building would burn and somebody would need to have a different designated polling place.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion. Not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. City of Long Prairie, Ted, are you on?
I am. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So, this is, we're setting on the final steps to the redevelopment agreement for, Max Development District 1, tax increment financing 1-16, along with the abatement for the apartment complex, between the, City of Long Prairie, Todd County Independent School District number 2753. This will be one of the final steps in improving the process to sign off basically on the TIF abatement. The one portion I just want to reference was basically lays out what the cost will be based off what the capture taxes will be. That's on C1, Exhibit C. It's on page just after the signature pages on 26 and 27. I'm not sure what page that is on your book, but basically, this is a discussion we had between the school, county, and city, just to make sure it's referenced that none of the funds would be coming from any of our general funds. It basically would be paid through the capture tax value. If there is no questions, I'd recommend to approve the redevelopment agreement for Master Development District number 1 in tax increment financing district number 1-16.
All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Discussion. Any questions? If not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Okay. Public Works, Lauren.
Good morning, everyone. So our first item on the agenda this morning for Public Works is a request for a speed limit study authorization on County Road 11. This is the portion of County Road 11 from the Stearns County line up to Ada Drive, past the Ferry Lake recreational area. The background was last fall. We had a truck go off the road, tip over its load into a residence area. Due to that and some overall history of concerns along this area, we've been requested by the residents up there to have MnDOT do a speed limit study and potential authorization of a lower speed limit. So with this, our options are to approve attached resolution or do not approve attached resolution. And our recommendation this time is to approve attached resolution requesting MnDOT to determine a reasonable and safe speed limit on County Road 11 from the Stearns County line to Ada Drive in Candota Township.
Okay, you've heard the well, you've seen the resolution and you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion. How long does that take normally, Lauren?
The last one we did, they did in a couple months, but we've had some that have taken well over a year. Just depends on their workload and who ends up with a little project in their hands at MnDOT.
All right.
I'm not sure what their process is right now due to every one of them working from home at the state, but we'll get it in as soon as we can.
Anything else? If not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
All right, our the city of Long Prairie next year on County Roads 38 and 56. The background with this is we've been working with the city now for probably in 4 to 5 years, developing this project. Basically, it stems from currently County Road 56 here is currently a detour for the bridge replacement project in County Road 71. As part of that, we knew this road would be tore up and beat up pretty bad because of the traffic. So we've been working with the city to develop this project, this contract. With that, we're using our standard cooperative construction agreement, which defines the terms and cost responsibilities for both entities. So with that, I guess our options are to approve the attached cooperative construction agreement for construction in fiscal year 2021, or do not approve the attached construction agreement, defer it to a future year, or do not approve it at all. Our recommendation at this time is to approve the attached cooperative construction agreement for fiscal year 2021 construction.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kneisel. Discussion. Lauren, what's the city, what is their part in this? What role do they play in this?
That's a great question. They actually, since the majority of the construction will be their fiscal responsibility and on their city streets, they will hold the construction contract with the contractor next year, and they actually are working with their city engineer consultant as we speak, kind of developing the background, the basics of the project as we proceed forward here.
Okay, thank you.
So we're really just a partner, a fiscal partner as part of this contract.
Okay.
That's typically the standard process we use with all our municipalities throughout the county.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? If not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you, Lauren.
All right, thank you.
Sheriff?
Good morning, all.
Morning.
One item up for board action today is to purchase a WatchGuard redaction software. Background on that is we'd like to purchase WatchGuard redaction software. That's for both of our body camera and in-squad video. We run WatchGuard on both of those. The purchase price for software and 3-year software support maintenance is $7,510.50. Software being $49.95 of that, and a maintenance of $25,1550, which would be every 3 years. Options, of course, are to approve the purchase of the WatchGuard redaction software, or 2, do not approve the purchase of the software redaction. Obviously, our recommendation is to approve the purchase of the WatchGuard redaction software. And just to elaborate on that, that's what this is basically for. Is if we get a data request in reference to any of our video, what this does, it's a program that we can run the video through. It'll redact the bulk of it through this program. We just go and clean it up, which saves a tremendous amount of time on our end, which we only have one records person. So sometimes these requests are quite large, and it's very cumbersome if you don't have this software. So it's something that is needed.
Okay, heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel to approve.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I
Yeah.
have a question. How many cameras do we have for the squads and the body cams?
You broke up, Brandon, that first part of that transmission there.
How many cameras do we have in the vehicles and on the body cams?
All deputies have them. Only people that don't have them in their cars and or in their person is the investigators and administration. So you're looking at about 10, 12, probably 13 or 14, I believe we have. And
Okay.
well, 15, because we have one spare that the part-timers put on.
Okay, thank you.
And in this day and age, it's good that you have them.
Yes.
All right, any other questions? If not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Adam?
Morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. A bunch of items here today. The first is for Subdivision 3 final plat. ground subdivision request to establish a preliminary plat on parcel 10-000-3900 containing 2 lots was approved. Preliminary platting on May 19th. Preliminary plat was approved with no conditions. Planning and zoning has completed the review of this and determined it is ready for final platting. Options are move to approve this request to establish Gable Subdivision 3 final plat or deny the request. The recommendation would be approve final platting of the Gable Subdivision 3 plat with no conditions on parcel 10-000-3900.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay,
Okay. Next one is Tremble Point preliminary plat. A subdivision request to establish a preliminary plat on parcel 3002460 containing 2 lots was approved by the Planning Commission on April 2nd. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the preliminary plat with the following conditions and pending the granting of a variance from the Board of Adjustments for reduction in road frontage and the width of an easement in place of the right-of-way road frontage. Condition 1, the remaining 2 parcels must never be split. Number 2, that a minimum of 50% leaf-on screening towards the lake for the new parcel on lot number 1. And 3, the permanent recorded easement across lot 1 of the proposed preliminary plat for access to lot number 2. The Board of Adjustments granted the variance in the reduction of the road frontage requirement for the width of easement on May 28, 2020. So the option to move to approve the request for preliminary platting or deny this request for preliminary platting. And the recommendation would be approved the establishment of preliminary plat on parcel 03002460 with the proposed conditions.
okay. That is the Board of Adjustment?
Yeah, this one's pretty unique. Mr. Kachemba came to us last fall and was asking about splitting this parcel. It's a pretty large parcel on Little Birch Lake. It made all the requirements of platting or division, except that it did not have the road frontage requirement. The access to the existing lot came off of a chunk that was platted back in, I think, 1926. There was no way you'd ever find a way to meet the road frontage requirement. So we weren't sure if we could plat this, so Warren started digging into it, and we found a section of the subdivision ordinance that allows for variances if it's the recommendation of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission reviewed this and thought it was fine, and everything looked good, and obviously the road frontage was the only piece missing, so they recommended approval, but pending the granting of a variance through the Board of Adjustments, which is how it's laid out in the subdivision ordinance. And so we brought this to the Board of Adjustments, and they reviewed it and felt it's necessary to grant the variance because it can never be split further. There's no other way to access these lots. It really will only have an impact on the 2 lots we're creating here, so there won't really be any safety concerns or anything with it. So that's how it's now, probably 6 or 7 months later, it's finally in front of you guys. It was quite a process.
Well, my question is, Adam, is the county board does not approve what the Board of Adjustment approves. We have no authority.
Correct.
So
You are only approving the preliminary plat. Part of what the Planning Commission said was that they are approving this pending the granting of the variance. Now that variance is out of the way, it's in front of you guys just to approve their recommendation.
all right.
Mr. Chair, I have
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
Adam,
Yes.
does this put the county in legal jeopardy by reducing this road for emergency vehicle access?
I wouldn't think so. It would be the burden of those landowners. That access to the site already, like I said, that the one that was planted in 1926, that's already only a 20-foot road right-of-way. It's public right-of-way, but it's privately maintained. Oh, there's about 12 houses that are in this exact same situation that have been there since 1926.
So does Birchdale Township, are they gonna maintain that portion of the,
Nope, nothing changes about it. It'll still be maintained by those homeowners that live along that stretch of road.
It's truly no different than a driveway. I struggle with this whole thing. with
Yes,
footages.
exactly.
There's a lot of roads. In fact, the road in front of my house, that's a township road, is much smaller than a lot of what accesses are given to these property owners.
right?
So in comparison, there's,
Well, Adam, I have a question. Randy and I probably both run into this more than anyone.
Yep.
Is these people that do the preliminary plats, then get them recorded and everything else and get them finalized, they're not aware, they think the townships are gonna maintain their roads, and then we get into this fight later on as who's responsible to build that road up so the township can take it over? And I'm in the one right now, and I think you're well aware of it up in Turtle Creek and Ward there. These people are saying, well, we pay taxes and we get no services, so I guess I'm a little concerned on the future, how we handle these issues, so,
That,
do the residents,
that is
do the
a
residents
major
know
concern.
this in there, all of them?
Sorry, say that again?
Do the residents that live in there know that this, so some of them don't even realize this till 2 years later or whatever, and then, we're into a pickle here, like each township
Yep.
says, well, I'm not doing it, I'm not taking care of it, blah, 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 so.
Right?
Yeah, in this particular one, they maintain it pretty well. Those landowners know that it's their responsibility on that stretch of road. There are tons and tons of examples, like you had just shared, of where landowners think that the township should be taking care of the road, but in actuality, it's a public road, but it's privately maintained, and they just don't understand that it's theirs to maintain. Because when these things were platted many, many years ago, those roads were never properly made. So in order for the township to take them over, they've got to meet township requirements or actual road requirements.
Right.
And that people just don't understand that, I guess. That's why now with these platting processes, if there's going to be a road made, we do not take it before you guys for final platting until we have Lauren go out and review the road and make sure it meets all the road requirements, so that these issues do not come around in the future anymore.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, Adam, we've passed a lot of plats where you've had to have the require 50 feet, I believe, of road frontage. And I know we
Yep.
changed it to some of them to 33 feet. That's a little concerning with me when we're reducing the size of the road. I don't get it. You know? It's not fair to the other people that have to follow the rules, and then this one here, we come in and change them.
Sure. In a lot of those other plats that you were referencing, they had what was needed in order to create that additional road. This one was a little unique because it's a lot that was old, and it was not landlocked, but the access leading to it was old. And we would have to change a lot of things in order. You'd be going from a 20-foot right-of-way out to a 66-foot right-of-way for 2 additional houses. We looked at coming in from the other direction to see if that was an option, but that wouldn't work also. We reviewed this with the county surveyor, Mark Johnner, and he recommended going the variance route. And so we dug into that. We talked with Lauren Feldbaum about this. His recommendation, thoughts on it were to go this route also, that there's not another way to do it. It would only impact the landowners involved in these 2 lots, and nothing would really be changing. And then we also ran it by County Attorney John Lindeman, and he recommended creating an easement going across lot number 1 to get to lot number 2.
So my question is that going to be listed as a cartway then?
Sorry, Randy, I didn't catch that.
Is that going to be listed as a cartway?
It'll be, I don't know.
Basically,
it'll be a
they're coming
permanent
back to
recorded
the
easement
board to approve
for
it.
access for just those people involved in these lots. It's already a created road, not a road, it's a driveway, it's paved, it already exists.
Well, if it be a cartway, the township would have to record it as a cartway.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'm not familiar with that process.
You wanna look into that a little bit? We had to do that up north and at our cabin, so, they had to come back in front of the county board to get access to their property and
Okay,
through a cartway. So,
okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I would have to dig into that a little bit more.
please,
Okay,
So what we're doing today is just approving the preliminary plot then.
correct. Yep.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Knizel, discussion. Not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
aye.
Okay, carried. Okay, next one.
Okay, let me get down to it here. Okay, next one is for Dean Blanchard, request for conditional use. A request for a conditional use was received to establish a temporary family living on parcel 2500-29901. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission on 4/2020. The recommendation from the Planning Commission was to approve this CUP, the following conditions. That installation of type 1 septic system for the dwelling utilized for temporary family housing, and 2, the structure must be removed within 60 days of disuse by immediate family. The options are approval of the CUP with the proposed conditions, deny the CUP, or to remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. The recommendation would be approval of the conditional use permit for temporary family living on parcel 2500-29901 with the proposed conditions.
Okay, you've heard the request, is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson, discussion.
Yes, Adam, your septic system, is they putting that septic system in just for that second house?
Yeah, so they'll actually have 2 houses out there eventually, but so they'll have separate systems for each of the dwellings on the site.
But they're going to be asked to remove that house 60 days after that person leaves for that temporary housing. Is there no other,
Yep.
is there no
So-
other plan for a sewer system that could be maybe less expensive for them to use during this temporary housing?
Yeah, so that requirement is actually laid out in the ordinance. There's like 6 or 7 things that are required for this temporary family living situation, and one of them is septic systems. But we just put that in there so it was clear to the applicant that that is a requirement by ordinance.
Okay,
In this applicant, one of the other requirements is that the housing that's created can only be used by immediate family.
Yeah.
His plan is to have his mother live in it for a period of time, and then once she needs to go to another living facility or she passes away, he will have his son move into that, so he can be close to the house. It'll be, I think there's a lot of years of use coming to this structure.
Okay.
okay. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
All right, next is the Joe Gingrich request for CUP. A request for a conditional use permit was received for establishment of sheet metal fabrication, retail sales, and a metal machine shop on parcel 20-0036502. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission on 6/4/2020. The recommendation developed by the Planning Commission was approval of the conditional use with the following conditions. Number 1, that all loading and unloading of materials must be conducted off the public road. 2, additions, changes, and other alterations to the operation must be reviewed by the Planning Commission. The options are approval of the CUP with these proposed conditions, 2, deny the CUP, or 3, remand back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation would be approval of the conditional use permit to establish a sheet metal fabrication, retail sales, and metal machine shop on parcel 2000366502 with these proposed conditions.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Discussion. Not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Carried.
All right, next is Jason Korblich's request for CUP. The request for conditional use was received to open a previously used gravel pit to be used for fill soil only, with no crushing or screening at this time in shoreline zoning. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission on 6/4/2020. The recommendation from the Planning Commission was approval with the following conditions: that no crushing, screening, or further processing of excavated materials can happen on site. Additional processing on the site requires the review of the Planning Commission. Number 2, no selling, loading, or transferring of materials on the site. This is restricted to the applicant only, and changes to the operation need to be reviewed by the Planning Commission. 3, applicant must meet all other requirements of section 9.12 in the Todd County Planning and Zoning Ordinance. And 4, submittal of a reclamation plan meeting ordinance requirements prior to issuance of a mining and excavating permit. The options are approval of the CUP with the proposed conditions, deny the CUP, or remand back to the Planning Commission. The recommendation would be approval of the conditional use permit to open the previous gravel pit in shoreline zoning with these proposed conditions.
Okay, is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kneisel. Discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
All right, and the last item, the Red Eye One Watershed One Plan a review. The 60-day comment period for the Red Eye Watershed, Red Eye One Watershed One Plan will expire on June 15th. Motion is required by all boards within the planning region to approve submittal of the plan to Bowser for final approval. Options are a motion approving the submittal of the plan to Bowser, or a motion to not submit the plan due to concerns with the final draft. The recommendation, this recommendation was given to me from Ben is his name. He works over in Otter Tail County. He's kind of the lead water planner in that area. So we have reviewed the draft of the Red Eye One Watershed One Plan and recommend to the Red Eye Watershed Policy Committee that the plan be submitted to the Board of Water and Soil Resources for their approval as stated in the Bowser Operating Procedures 2.0 and the Red Eye One Watershed One Plan Memorandum of Agreement.
Okay, heard the request, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion.
Adam, is this the one that Region 5 worked on?
Yes, along with Houston Engineering.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. Health and Human Services, Jackie.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. In front of you, I have a few board action forms that I'd like to review with you. The first being a resolution supporting the COVID-19 Relief Partnership Emergency Funding application. Sourcewell has put out a funding opportunity for government entities to apply for up to $10,000. We have submitted, or in front of you have an application to help provide necessary supplies and equipment to respond to our COVID pandemic that is in front of us. Again, there's also a resolution that's attached and required with the application to Sourcewell. Options are to approve the resolution supporting the Todd County Health and Human Services application for Sourcewell COVID-19 Relief Partnership Emergency Funding, or to not approve. It's our recommendation. Thank you. It's our recommendation that the Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion: to approve the resolution supporting the Todd County Health and Human Services application for Sourcewell's COVID-19 Relief Partnership Emergency Funding.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kneisel. Discussion? If not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I want to provide to you our COVID-19 situational update. We'll be doing this before every board and then posting the information on the county website soon thereafter. So as of June 15th, which was yesterday, we have 374 lab-confirmed positive cases for Todd County. Today, we have an additional 2 to that number, so today we are at 376. Todd County does have 2 COVID-related deaths on record. Again, just a reminder, many people have not been tested, so laboratory confirmation cases represent only the portion of the total number of people in Todd County that are testing positive with COVID-19. Cases no longer needing isolation is 85%, which is 317. Gender, male, female, Todd County has 56% where 41% is female. No one is 3. Age range, our average case age range is 37.7, fairly typical or looks similar to what our Minnesota state age range is, which is between 30 and 37 years of age. There are 6,234 of those individuals that are testing positive. As of yesterday, today's cases haven't been posted on the website yet for Minnesota. Tests completed in the state of Minnesota is 422,922. Health care workers tested is 3,198. And lab confirmed positives for the state of Minnesota is 30,693. Deaths in Minnesota is 1,304. Again, Todd County has 2. Hospitalized in the state, we have 3,630 as a total. From the date of collection, and hospitalized as of yesterday is 353, with 186 of those in ICU. Community transmission is our most common exposure type.
Becky, how many hospitalized in Todd County?
We're not given that information on a regular basis. We have to go back in. One point it was 2 last week.
Okay.
I don't know where we're at today.
Okay.
Hospitalized, not in ICU, but hospitalized.
Do we know if the hospitals are getting back to normal operation, or are they still,
I talked to Joel Brunswiger from Tri-County late last week, I think. My days are all running into to one another. And he said they're at 80% as to where they were pre-COVID. So it's sounding like it's starting to normalize a little bit for them.
okay.
Mr. Chair, I can interject into that a little bit because I got to participate in that.
Oh, did you?
Yes, not in Todd County, sorry, but we had to go over to Little Falls for a little trip for a little surgery, and it was crazy.
Really?
I mean, and it's only because they're just starting back up,
Yeah.
and they weren't up to full par on their people working, and so they were struggling big time with that to get back up and get running. But, I mean, they were very pleasant people. Everybody was doing the best they could with the number of people that they had. But they were hoping, I know, in Morrison County there in Little Falls to be up this week, back up kind of to
100%
normal.
capacity.
Yes.
I was talking to someone yesterday and said that they needed a physical and they can't get in until Centricare until August.
Things are being booked out. I mean, for routine dental care, I was pushed out. I had an appointment in early March, and now I'm scheduled for mid-August. So I think there's going to be a lot of catch-up that's going on right now with our healthcare industry.
Mr. Chair, too, I just have a couple more questions for Jackie, and hopefully not taken insulting wise or anything. I don't know how well you're kept in the loop from the state or what you get told, or if you're just kind of blind out there like the rest of us. But I was doing a lot of reading, and one of the numbers that comes up that's really an unknown number is the number of cases that have maybe truly had the disease already. And so they keep throwing this really low estimate number out there of the people that have probably been infected. So in the reading I was doing, they were saying that some of the states are taking 10,000 random people, which sounds like a really big number, except we're testing 13,000 a day at a lot of times, so it's really not a big number. And then they're looking at that number to see how many people have actually had the disease Do you know if Minnesota is considering that at
I
all,
haven't
or-
heard anything, but that's a great theory to look at. You know, we keep saying as there are many people that have had exposure and that haven't been tested. Our lab confirmed positives is 376 as today. How many have, you know, it's because in the beginning, so many of them were not being tested. You had to fall into a certain criteria. I would be interested to see truly how many are out there that have had exposure
I think
and
that would,
asymptomatic.
I would think that would change the outlook on the whole program if we actually got a feel for that number. Is it 4% or is it 40%?
Greater.
That's a huge number that just keeps lingering out there to make them where they're very concerned yet with that really low number supposedly of the infected rates.
Well, the other thing, Rod, is how far back did COVID actually start?
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know, and maybe you can help me with this, I'm not sure of the reliability of the blood tests on, because I believe it's a blood test that shows that you actually have had it, is that correct?
Correct.
And that test is out there and available, but the accuracy on it was a little bit
And I don't know what the
iffy.
availability of it truly is. Some healthcare facilities are offering it, and some haven't gotten to that point yet, so,
Yeah.
yeah. It'll be interesting, we're gonna be talking about this for a long time, even after the vaccine is produced and administered, and what numbers potentially could look like.
Well, the reason I say that is I go back to my wife's situation back in early December, you know, had probably 50 to 75% of the symptoms of that, but they weren't aware of the disease nor tested for it or anything. And so then if she did have it, I was exposed, my family's been exposed. And so the true exposure number is unknown.
It is, and you know, there's a lot of commonality with symptoms
Yeah.
among the flu, seasonal allergies
Right.
to what COVID looks like. It'll be interesting to see what our numbers look like a year from now as to symptomology with truly who have been exposure.
And I also think then that off the last 7-day period in the state of Minnesota, not just Todd County, but I believe deaths is on a downward slide right now, along with ICU beds, along with many other things going on the downward slide at this particular time. Is that
Correct.
accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I have a question for Jackie. There's a lot of rumors out there about people that have lost loved ones to natural causes, and they're putting down COVID-19, and they're getting paid for it. Is that true?
You know, I know that they are doing post-mortem testing for COVID and then taking it as a COVID-related death, where a stipend comes in, whether it be at the facility or at some point. I can't speak to that
Okay, so you have no
at this
idea.
time. No, I can't. I know that, I've heard the same rumor mill as well, but the validity of that I can't speak to.
I don't think we'll ever know that answer,
Yeah.
probably.
But you hear it a
Yeah,
lot.
but because once the death certificate is signed, it usually can't be changed unless there's a.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Thanks for your
Thank
updates
you,
all the
Jackie.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, did you have anything else, Jackie? No? Okay. Administration, I guess.
Sorry.
We have a mobile microphone.
Circling the room. Mr. Chair and board members, I have 3 board actions here this morning. The first board action is to approve geotechnical work, mortar sample, and testing for the historic rock wall. The background on this is geotechnical work and mortar sampling and testing needs to be completed for the historic rock wall project. Proposals have been received for this work, and Chosen Valley Testing provided the lowest responsible proposal. Work will consist of geotechnical work, mortar sampling, and 2 mortar tests. The cost for this work is $6,900. The Facilities Committee has reviewed the proposals and recommends Chosen Valley Testing. So the options are to approve the geotechnical work, mortar sample and testing through Chosen Valley Testing, or not approve, and the recommendation is to approve the work through Chosen Valley Testing. This financial implications you heard at $6,900. It is budgeted through the Capital Improvement Fund. We did receive $76,000 in grant funds from the Historical Society, and the county has a match of $10,000 that was approved for this project.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I could, and I think at the time during our facility meeting that there was discussion that we needed quite a few different boring sites, and through discussion at the meeting that we were able to only do the 2 drilling sites.
Yep, Mr. Chair, that's correct. The request initially was to have 8 mortar samples done or mortar testing done, and each test was, the lowest one was $1,600 per test. And just using some of Lauren's knowledge in the historical bridge project, he said that for that project, they only had to do 2 mortar tests. So going back to our architect, that's what they allowed, was the 2. So we've saved quite a bit of money just by having that knowledge in the room.
Okay. Anything else? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you.
Okay, so the next agenda item I have, I'm actually going to have Mitch up here with me. This is from the Facilities Committee. It's the Expo building, replace gable end overhead doors. The background on this is a change order was requested to replace existing overhead doors at east and west gable ends of the Expo building. The Facilities Committee has reviewed the change order and recommends moving forward with the replacement. The cost of replacement is $12,842. The options are to approve the change order 13 to replace existing overhead doors at east and west gable ends of the Expo building, or to not replace. And the recommendation is to approve change order 13 to replace existing overhead doors east and west gable ends of the Expo building.
Okay.
Could we have some discussion?
Yep.
Okay, as you look through our board packet, if you slide through it, it's the door company that is shipping this to the Long Prairie Hockey Association. And we've had some discussion on this before, that they should know it's a county building and this is county building work. But we've had this discussion with these people prior to this, and again, so I don't know what we have to do to change St. Rosa Lumber to know who they're working for.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Becker, I will make sure that I point this out once again. This has been an ongoing issue. It is the Expo building, it is the Expo arena, it is lean-to, it's bathrooms, it's not specific to Egg Society, it's not specific to fair, and is not specific to hockey. So I will make sure I make mention of that.
I did
Thank you.
in our last facilities meeting. It was recommended that I just go through this, make sure that I was comfortable with the overhead doors that they're using, the openers that they're using, the tracking system that they're using. And I did mention to the general contractor, Brandon Arnson and Arnson Construction, that, hey, you need to stop doing this and start putting it as what it is. It's just the language is very confusing or very not streamlined to what we're doing, so.
Mr. Chair, I did get a email from a constituent yesterday, and he said he had seen the invoice from Arnson for the doors that says shipped to Long Prairie Hockey in Long Prairie. And
That's
wanted
good.
to know if we've changed the name of the building or given ownership to Long Prairie Hockey. And I guess my response to that would be, you know, whether it's Todd County Ag Society or Long Prairie Hockey, it's a Todd County facility. It's a Todd County building. It's owned by the people of Todd County. So it doesn't matter if it says hockey or Ag Society, it's gonna get paid out of taxpayer funds from Todd County. So, but it would be nice if they
Yes.
clean it up.
Yep, and to just be fair to the individuals, they did the mistake. They didn't revise this section. This was the section we bought them, and then when I came back, I talked to them after they originally drew this up. So yes, we'll get that cleared up with them. And they have made this mistake multiple times, like we said. and we have been in contact with them to, hey, this is not the verbiage you should be using. So I'll make it very clear again that, hey, we need to.
We'll stop
straighten this
paying the
out.
bills until they
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, exactly, right, exactly.
Okay. You've heard the request, right? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Any more discussion?
This will just finalize the entire outside skin of this building. It will be completely remodeled. We should be good to go for a number of years. I think we did clarify in the facility meeting also that both have openers on them, which will also
Correct.
extend the life of the doors,
Yep.
rather than somebody pulling them up and ramming them down, or whatever the case may be.
And
So-
just to add on to that, they're using like a larger wheel for the openers, which makes it easier for them to roll up and down. They're obviously a better quality door that were installed in the 80s, if you will. And yeah, it's going to give us a total new skin, we're going about it the right way with starting on the outside envelope and working our way towards the inside of the building. So yeah, it's in very good shape. Just to touch on an update of it, as of right now, one side of the roof is basically completed, along with all the sidewalls are completed and done. They did start on the most difficult side of the roof, which would be the south side. Now, this week, they'll be working on the north side of the roof. They have the simple saver system for the underneath, which you can see from the inside of the building. On one side, it's totally done. The other side, they were putting up strapping for it yesterday and starting to unroll the system. So they'll be working on the other side of the roof this week. I expect this week to go a little bit better as far as the roof going on. Hopefully they complete it this week. If not, by next week, the entire outside will be brand new. We are waiting on the doors and those type of things, along with, the problems that have come up with the COVID, the ordering of the doors, the getting them manufactured, the getting raw material to get them manufactured have been an issue. They were on order, and we're just waiting on those type of things and the minor things that come with it. The completion date we're still on track. I don't see any issues coming up. We have added a few, minor changes along the way, but still in my talks with Brandon the other day, we're still doing what we need to do to stay on completion date. So, and we are gonna still hold them to that, especially with everything going on. There should be no problems getting completed.
Mr. Chair, if I could, and
Yep.
this is going to lead off the doors just a little bit, but I was at the Ag Society meeting. Gary and I were both there. And they brought up about the venting or the ventilation
Okay.
for the cattle during the fair, that they had $2,500 in a grant. Have you been in contact with Mike at the Ag Society or not?
I can be in contact with them. We have talked again to another point on the Ag Society. We did contact them about the additional concrete work that they're gonna do to roll that into our project so that they could possibly potentially have a savings there with the contractor doing, instead of pouring 10 yards of concrete, they'll be doing 20 yards at a time. The ventilation, we will be in contact on them with for sure. The options are to look into basically the sidewall venting, putting in fans to either exhaust air out or push air in. We did also do another thing for ventilation that we talked about. We have some fans that are higher up on the east end of the building. We framed in, for now, we framed in an area in the spray foam which allows us to add it later in the year or later at any time, some type of fans or some type of ventilation. So I will be in contact with them with the ag. I did hear about the concrete. This is the first time that I think I've heard about the $2,500 towards the fans and ventilation. So we'll definitely be in contact with them.
Okay. The other thing, we were visiting, and Dave brought up a point earlier about maybe contacting Brenda from Extension downstairs,
Okay.
which would be, I feel too, would be a good resource for you maybe to get in contact.
On the size of fans and stuff that we would
Yep.
probably.
We, with the fans that we chose for the ventilation on the top side, we basically did a CFM calc on the fan that's existing and the ventilation louvers that were gonna go in there. On the top side, obviously, we want some lower level ventilation as well. And that's how we calculated how the fans, or how the ventilation went up on the west side of the building. And like I said before, they're just framed out because it's easier for us to frame them out now, being that, you know, they're putting exterior on, they have to do some framing issues now. And we took a standard size fan, if you will, and made the dimensions to that opening. So yes, should be very easy for us to add and put some different things.
Okay,
Excuse me, different
the
things
other
in.
thing that I think could be brought up at this time too, and we talked about this at the facility, was that when the Ag Society writes these grants for the fairgrounds and so forth, if they would let us as a facility group know what they're writing their grants for, so we would have an input.
Yes,
on the
correct.
grant.
This has been one thing that's been ongoing with me, and ongoing with the situation that lies out there, that yes, it's kind of backwards, in my opinion. You know, it would help them out and help us out if we would know kind of what they're after for grants. I did express this to Mike Willenberg, the president of the Ag Society, about a month and a half ago, along with other individuals that I've spoken with the Ag Society. So hopefully we can get on the same page and get everything accomplished out there. It is very helpful when they have grant opportunities like this for us, but it's just, in general, nice for us to know what opportunities for them and for Todd County actually exist, so.
Mr. Chair, if I may say, I think Commissioner Becker, this will relate back to when we actually sit down, pen to paper, and construct new lease agreements. I think that should go right into the lease agreement too, that if it's hockey or if it's ag or anybody that's leasing it, if they're going to start putting funds in through grant money, they need to come to the county board and present to the board and to the facility committee, so all parties involved know what's going to potentially be going into a county building.
Correct. It would very much so streamline, you know, what we have going on out there, and give a set agenda for every individual or every organization that exists out there.
And thank you, Denise, and that was a conversation as facilities, that no matter who it is, will come in front of the facility.
Yep.
And that goes with, also with the lease would be their yearly updates too.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of times that gets missed too, that they need to come and give a yearly update, and part of the lease agreement would be letting us be notified of grant opportunities.
Well, if I may, why don't we pass a resolution stating that
We could?
at the next board meeting? So that it's down on record that that's what the board requests, and then everybody knows.
Sounds good. We'll draft something.
Would that resolution maybe want to address more than just the one building? Just
It
so
should
it's,
be
Be all,
it should be county buildings.
Yeah,
Oh, county buildings?
well, any county
Completely.
building, but also the fairgrounds included. So.
Because you deal with that at many
Because
other
otherwise we get
buildings.
stuck not knowing what's going on, and we just gotta create a good communication line,
Yep.
that's all.
Miss-
It makes it difficult.
Yeah.
And the grant helps everybody
Oh,
out.
absolutely.
Left
Absolutely.
hand don't know what the right hand's doing, you can't get much accomplished, so,
Mr. Chair, I would probably want to expand that to be buildings and property.
yeah, okay,
exactly.
if you would.
Mr. Chair, I have one comment. I was out by the Expo building last night, and, you know, I could understand at first why they didn't replace the doors, was trying to save money. But when you look at that building right now, and then you look at the doors, you go, what the hell are we thinking? Let's get the new doors put in, because they've did an exceptional job. That building really looks nice.
Yeah, it's been going very well. You know, it just, it takes time, and, you know, you run into a few hiccups along the way, but so far, so good. Yeah, it will be a very, very nice looking building.
Yes.
Well, Randy, I've always said when we do a project, let's do it right, not wrong, so that later on we're
Yep.
spending money to something we didn't do earlier,
Right.
so.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, I'd just like to say I really appreciate having Mitch heading up this project. He's done a great job with making sure the contractors stay on task and keeping everybody informed.
Thank you.
I think he kinda enjoys it. Okay, so I need a vote on this then? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, and then reopening to the public.
Mr. Chair, the last board action that I have is our Todd County plan for reopening to the public, continued discussion. So the background for this is on May 26th, the Todd County implemented phase 1 of reopening by only allowing appointment for services where in-person appointments are necessary. As per other businesses and agencies throughout the state continue to slowly open, further discussion is needed to provide for guidance of phase 2 of reopening. So your options listed, option 1 has several items included with it, and the intent of that is that if you chose an option and didn't want a specific letter, you could strike that. So I will go through that. Option 1 is to implement phase 2 of reopening, which would include the following: opening of Justice Center as of June 15th, which was yesterday. Open Historic Courthouse and Public Works on June 26th. Continue high-volume service by appointment only, such as driver's license. Continue providing all other services online, by phone, email, and Dropbox, and by appointment only. Continue public meetings virtually with a limited in-person capacity of 10. Option 2, discuss other phase 2 options for reopening. And option 3, to maintain operating county functions under phase 1. And the recommendation is to approve option 1 with all of the letters below it. So just a little bit of background on this. I did have a discussion with the COVID Emergency Executive Committee and also with the departments that are in the Justice Center. And because of the judicial branch, there was a goal to open the court's service counters by June 15th. So that one did open yesterday. They had a business plan in place, have a business plan in place, and everybody is well aware of what they need to do. All of their pieces are in order, and their opening went smooth. So
Did we move security upstairs then? On
that was the plan, so I didn't
Yep.
go look, but yeah.
We moved,
Yep, they're upstairs.
Okay.
never mind.
All right. So you need a motion to approve the plan, or no?
Yes.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman, discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I could just add, we are also working, actually, the Recorder's Office is working pretty diligently to get as many driver's licenses done as possible. In the month of June, already they've done 141. They will be very close to have completed 300 by the time we open here, so.
Will we have more discussion on our next board meeting than on?
The plan is to continue this reopening until we are completely open, so I will be coming back on July 7th with additional plans.
Okay, you've heard the request, and is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Auditor Treasurer, have any reports?
Yes, I do, if you don't mind. I have a few things. Mobile home tax statements were sent last week, so those are out. Our Finance Committee has been working on the 2021 budget. We met last Wednesday. We'll be meeting again tomorrow. That's moving around smoothly. And absentee voting opens Friday, June 26th. Persons can request either online, by mail, or by then we will be open so they can come in. We've made arrangements working with the county coordinator to get everything COVID specific. So we'll be ready for that. And then just a positive note, I wanted to show, we had went out last week and we started posting these signs we had made for a little less than $400 investment for some signs where we have houses. Within 4 days' time, we had 4 parcels sold, and I have 2 pending. So these signs are really working on our tax forfeited, which is great to get this back on the tax roll and off of our burden. So it's been a positive.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask, Denise, I was asked by a township board member about the $11 fee that you're asking the townships to pay for a online training.
Right, that is in our election world. We are ever-changing like everybody is with COVID, so we're not hosting election judge training for our election judges for the upcoming elections or head election judge training. We were instructed by the Secretary of State that we would be offered virtual training, and we're passing that on to all of our precincts here. We've given them all the information. The $11 charge or surcharge is for them to go online and obtain this information. Now, they can do this as long as it takes them. If it takes them a half hour, it's a 2-hour training, but I mean, and they have to be accountable for it too, so they have to take a little quiz after, so we know that the attendance is done, that they understand what they're doing to become an election judge. But the $11 fee is coming from the vendors who created we're just passing that along. It's not, we're not adding any additional.
It's not a Todd County fee.
It's not a Todd County fee. And then also with that, just so some know, I do know, because we have elderly judges, we're working with them to maybe tag in with somebody that's younger that can help them. And if they absolutely cannot find any means to be trained electronically, they can contact our office, and we are working again with the coordinator to maybe in our election room set up some training pods where they could come in and do it on their own time, and then we would have somebody working remote down there. We're doing everything we possibly can to accommodate, but we're in a rural area where we have a lot of elderly judges, and we're mandated by the state, so when they switch, we're switching. It's not been a fun process, but we're doing everything we can to accommodate them.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add to that a little bit, just learning more about the CARES Act and the funding that might be coming to the counties, the cities, the townships. I will ask the specific question about that $11 charge to see if that's something that could actually be reimbursed through the CARES Act, just to see,
Yeah.
since it is COVID related.
Was the townships paying it, or does the person have to pay it?
Each individual person has to sign up to get the link,
Okay.
because that's what keeps them accountable to be credited.
But then they can turn that into their township as a
To get
fee.
reimbursed.
Well,
To
that's
get
what-
reimbursed.
That's what I was wondering.
We did try to explain to some townships that the $11 fee in some people's aspects is way cheaper than what they were paying somebody to drive 50 miles and then pay
Yeah,
them
absolutely.
4 hours to be at training. So
Okay.
in some townships, it's a cost savings of, oh, I only have to pay $11
But
now.
it's still not coming to the county.
No.
The county is not collecting any
No.
money out.
No, it's just an in and an out. We're getting charged it, we're passing it on, paying it back.
Okay.
And that's all I have to report, thank you.
Okay.
Did you have anything else?
I just have some information regarding the extension related to the fair. Since the Todd County Fair has been canceled, I have been contacted by Alyssa Sheevy from the Extension Office. She was just wondering if they would still be allowed to use the fairgrounds if they were going to do some sort of in-person judging of the exhibits. So they are looking at doing a potential mix of both virtual and in-person showing. There are so many regulations, so many restrictions that they have to adhere by, so they're not quite sure. But as they proceed and make decisions yet this week, they wanted to at least have some type of consensus on whether or not they could utilize those grounds. So we are allowing saddle clubs to come in and use the arena areas, so I did not envision any issue with them using it for judging, as long as they have, a business plan in place, which they are required to. So I just wanted to share that information with the board.
What are we requiring them to file the business plan with us?
Actually, what they need to do is they need to have the plan posted,
Okay.
so,
I
And
would like to have it on file here, though,
okay.
so we have it. So if somebody says, what are they doing, so.
And I know through the University of Minnesota, it's quite an extensive plan that they have put in place.
Mr. Chair, yes, when she explained it to me, when Alyssa explained it to me, there were many, many things they had to have in place.
But if people are gonna use our organizations, use any of our property, we should have that plan filed with us, so if anybody wants to complain or something, so we have everything here that you can explain it to them then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Then I will request that also of the saddle clubs. They had an extensive one as well.
Thank you too, because I was just going to ask about that, because I get the lease agreements, if I could get a copy to go downstairs with I was looking for
Sure.
that Saddle Club one too, but Randy said it was presented to a COVID meeting, so I didn't have access to it. So if
Yeah,
I
I
could
don't-
get
Okay. I'll ask them for it, because I don't have it either.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's all I had.
commissioners, Randy, I think you had something?
Oh, yes, Mr. Chair. I believe we had one individual apply for the manager's opening down at Sac River Watershed.
Yes, that closed yesterday, and we only had one application.
Okay, his
Same
name
application
is,
or a different person?
different person.
Okay,
His name is Paul Hartman. He is a realtor businessman in Osakis. Lives right on the edge of Todd County and Osakis. I also drew up some things that expectations I'd like to see from the managers, our managers that are appointed to the Sauk River Watershed Board. And you can see I drew up 6 things. Be fiscally responsible to the taxpayers of Todd County, report monthly to the county board with updates by email or in person by request of the county board. And that's, they do have taxing authority, so I think that would be a good idea to keep this board updated of what's going on. Support separating the watershed business and the Stearns and Pope County ditch business by having 2 separate meetings monthly. That, I think, would be a good idea, because I've attended their meetings and they can get quite lengthy and then quite controversial, especially with the ditches. Keep the people of Todd County informed on what's going on in the Sauk River Watershed Board of Managers, what they're acting on. Asked to do articles for the local papers to keep people informed. Go to in person to site projects within Todd County to make sure when they vote on something that, they've been to the project and understand what it's about. And I've seen that a lot with them. The managers don't go out on site because they're told by administration that they don't need to, and I think that's very critical, because as commissioners, we go out on site quite often. So I think that's a pretty big key right there. And then hold public meetings with the public to keep them informed. So I would like to bring Mr. Hartman in and have him introduce himself to the board and go from there, and I'll try to work that out with Chris.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I have the application, and I already have email that I've been in contact with, because he's been asking if he needs to come in.
Okay?
So I will just, if you're fine with, the board's fine with it, I'll just continue that dialogue with him
Okay.
and invite him to the next board meeting.
Okay.
And we'll put it on as a, I don't know if you want it as a work session, just to know him, if you're not doing work sessions, if you just want it at the tail end of the meeting, just before the reports. I mean, because there's no other applicants, so it's not like you'd really be doing an interview, you'd just be getting an introduction to him. And
Right.
Was there just one vacancy?
Yeah. So thoughts, Mr. Chair?
Well, I think it's good, except for I just have an issue with holding public meetings. I'm not sure somebody that, what do they get paid, Randy?
I think it's over $75 a meeting.
And mileage?
Yes.
I just see that sometimes maybe you've got somebody that, doesn't know how to do that or want to do that. And I think what you're saying is to keep the public informed, or at least that part of the watershed district is,
Right.
I think if
And
he
what-
reports to the county board, I think the public's hearing it then, so, or seeing it in the paper too.
Right.
So I just have, that last one I have an issue with, because pretty difficult for someone to do that if they don't know
Right.
how to do that.
Yeah, and they could have a town hall too. I
Probably
mean,
could
where-
join in if you have
invite.
your district meetings yet, so I could
Okay.
join in with you, so,
Right.
all right. Okay, anything else?
No, just attended, on Zoom, Central Minnesota Council on Aging, Rainbow Rider, in person at the Park Board, AMC District 4 meeting, and heard, a lot of our fellow counties are concerned about the last half of taxes. So, that's about it.
Okay, anybody else?
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Jolene just texted in to me because she's watching live, and she said the townships will be invoiced, not individual persons will be. So
Okay.
it's how many ever are in
Okay.
that one
That's what
township
I
for.
was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, but it's for, the township has to pay.
So they usually have two, don't
I
they?
think the clarification they were looking for there and not to contradict you,
Yeah.
is it is per person.
It is per
By the
person.
township
By the
that
township.
they
But
have
we're
to
not
pay
going
that.
to bill 250 people individually.
Correct.
We're gonna send Long Prairie City, here's your bill for all your people that you had signed up as election judges.
Correct.
Correct, yes.
Yep. I think there was some confusion on the fact that maybe if they logged in on one computer, that they could
That-
have 5 watch
yes.
and it would only be $11.
Right.
Oh,
But you can't. It's
Yeah.
gotta be each person.
Account, we had to
good
have
thinking.
accountability. So they'll each be sent a link. That's their accountability,
Something I'd
knowing they're
try.
doing it individually.
Okay. Well, I think most of us have been attending our meetings by Zoom or whatever else means there is, which is getting maybe a little old for a lot of us, but we're doing it. Especially when we have larger boards. I know Gary's got a large one. I have one MRC, which is 39 counties, is almost impossible to have a meeting, but they do. So anyway, I've been doing that. I think the rest of you have too.
Is there any forecast for when that will perchance change?
I have not heard of any specific date. The peacetime emergency, I believe, was extended until July 13th, so maybe we will hear more.
Peacetime,
time.
you said?
Mhm.
I was- I watch the news, it doesn't look like peacetime. Anyway, okay. Well, anyway, we've all been doing that, and it's difficult to, do everything as a coordinator you want to report?
No, I'm good.
Well, the biggest thing about that is there's so many different Zoom and
Yeah.
go to meeting and all them different ones that you gotta get different apps to get on. And it's just weird.
Well, and then when we're doing the call-in, every time the conference call number changes, you have to use a new PIN and everything else, so
For security.
it's getting complicated.
I think next time we have a Rainbow Rider meeting, we will be coming to Todd County, because it's just about impossible to get on. I've never been able to get on one, and they don't furnish a cell phone number. Randy, you got on the last two, but it was halfway through the meeting, you
Took me a
finally
while
got
to get on, yeah.
Yeah,
In other meetings, I can get on just like that.
yeah, so
And
it's,
how they send that password and the access code is,
Or if you type one button wrong or number wrong,
Yeah.
you're.
yeah, but it's usually a different access code.
Well, one of
Halfway
them-
through the
one of mine
meeting, they
was on
send
it.
us back.
If you
Mm-hmm.
waited too long in between numbers or something, then they,
You had to redo it.
you have an incorrect number there.
For sure, I will be watching very closely for when they do start lifting some of those limitations, because I do think it will be nice for everybody to get back to a regular setting for all meetings.
Are we under a restriction yet, no matter on the room size? Like, I mean, in this particular case, are we only allowed to have 10
So
supposedly?
we're still under this 10 limit, but I am having Mitch has done a great job of going around and figuring out what our capacity actually is. So I am going to pose the question, if our room is this large, can we have more than 10 based on the occupancy?
25% capacity instead, or whatever the
Well,
case may
we're
be.
not classified a bar or restaurant yet,
Oh,
so.
I'm just saying, it's just one set of rules here, and one set of rules there, and one set of rules here.
And it has
Can't
been.
there be some uniformity in the fact that if you're doing spacing and doing what you're supposed to be doing, that there could be some consistency?
So that's what we are going to try to figure out today and then submit that, so. But I do thank you all for your patience. It has not been the easiest
Yeah.
for
Thank you
anybody,
for
so.
your hard work,
Yep.
keeping us informed. Your fingers must get sore at the end of the day.
Mr. Chair, I have one other thing to add. I just want to thank all the people that come in last night for the Board of Equalization. I think the 5 of us kind of heard last night that we do have like a roller coaster effect going on with our taxes, which is kind of concerning, but we need to work on that and get that figured out. And but just want to thank the individuals for coming in last night and sharing their thoughts and how they felt, so thanks.
Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to adjourn for June.
So
Motion by Commissioner Canizzo, is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed, carried, we're adjourned. Work session, do you want to take a break?
Because I gotta call her
Okay.
to stop.
Take a little break, and then we only have one item, because Adam has withdrawn his for till next month. And then Mitch will give us something on his issues.
So I'm gonna leave the conference bridge running
Yep,
while we're
okay.
just waiting.
We'll take a, maybe a couple minute break here and then we'll get back to it and get done, so.
We voted to have the Stearns County Water and Soil be the fiscal agent for our One Watershed Master Plan. We'll see if they accepted it.
First thing is Mitch.
Yeah, so what we have in front is we just basically have, I would like to go from, basically now we have 3 custodians on staff and myself. I would like to switch that to 2 custodians and 1 facilities maintenance tech and myself. It would still be a union position. It would be an increase in step from, or grade, excuse me, from a 5 to a 7. This is something that in 2017, right before I got here, was actually on the board agenda. And so it was approved by personnel, it was approved by all the steps there. and due to some unforeseen circumstances, basically got dropped. Pete Blease brought it to me and said, you know, I'm recommending you do this. And I said I would like to take some time to look at it, think about it, and see if there's a need for it, and see if there's potential for an individual to fill it. It took a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I've come to the realization that it would be something that would be in need within my department. Again, like I said, we're not adding to the amount of staff that I have. We're just changing a title of one of the staff. I feel that it's something that we can fill internally, possibly. It would free up, instead of me really getting out there and doing all of the maintenance as far as technical maintenance on heating equipment and cooling, along with the jail. It would help me train somebody in. I think that's the best way to go about it. And there's training opportunities through some of the wholesale accounts that I have, like for example, a Gooden company is somebody that offers training on heating and cooling equipment, plumbing, and those type of things. So I see the need for it that way. It would just allow me to do more of my job inside the office, which, believe it or not, I don't like to do. That's not my favorite thing, but it is required, and it would give me a better handle on the buildings themselves and trying to get a better plan in place and keep up with that plan going forward. So that was something that I feel is necessary, or I feel as a want, if you will. You know, and that's where I'm at. I was advised by, I went through personnel and then through finance. And actually in finance, when I did the math, because of where our situation's at with an individual leaving and restarting that individual from a grade 5 step 4, we would go back down to a grade 5 step 1. The cost difference, we would actually technically on paper for now be saving money. We'd be saving around $700. And that's where we'd be at. So thoughts or questions or concerns, I guess.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I think during those meetings, we've had some discussion on Sunday overtime hours, and also if this position would be union or non-union, and you stated this morning you'd remain as union.
Yes, it would.
And, you know, I think this is something we should look at as we go forward. You know, like Denise is, when she put someone in that position, they became non-union. Are we following the same steps as we're moving forward with these people, making them union or non-union? Those are my questions.
Maybe just a little bit, and this position would not be a role that has any type of supervisory.
Okay.
Correct.
Staff. So typically, when we look at either areas where we have confidentiality or areas that are, that would be supervisory, we sometimes do the non-union in that case. This position wouldn't have either of those two roles.
Okay. The other thing I asked was the overtime and the weekends.
So,
you know, when we have a job that we know that we have to have someone in here every single weekend, you know, why are we not, you know, putting it as regular hours?
So during the week, we flex our time as mandatory. We flex our time as best as possible. On the weekends, we follow the union regulations and rules. However, I did some background on this for you, Barb. You were
okay.
Requesting, you know, how many hours are we actually doing? So I went to our payroll specialist, which is Kathleen Knobber. And in 2016, the year before I got here, they had a total of 364 hours of overtime.
Okay.
Last year, in 2019, we had 88 for 3 individuals. So with that being said, last year in February alone was the snowiest month on record. So when you take that into consideration and the factor of sometimes, yes, can we try and you know, put somebody in a role where, you know, those hours are set? Yes, absolutely. But when we get snow or emergency like that, or an emergency call, it's just something that's unforeseen. So you can't really predict when these things are going to happen, especially like with February, it snowed 24 out of 28 days. I mean, that's just something that we deal with as it comes up. But yes, we have minimized, as you can see, going from 364 to 88. We are trying to cap our overtime the best we can.
Okay, I see Sarah walked in too. Sarah, if I could ask you, overtime is paid at what rate? Time and a half, okay.
I heard what they
Yep.
said.
No, and you were in our discussion earlier when we had this at our meetings before. Okay.
Okay, any more discussion? Being on the personnel committee, heard it, and I think it's a good idea because if we have someone else close to Mitch's certification or can do a lot of the handiwork, that saves us money in the long run.
Absolutely. Especially, I will talk, and I don't think Steve's on anymore, but in the jail situation, with us ordering things at wholesale retail, instead of paying a retail cost for some of this stuff, we're saving them quite substantial amount of money. So we have seen definitely a cost savings. We're getting to the point now, where we can, myself included, I've only been here 3 years, but we're getting to a point where we're starting to get a really good handle on things, and we have a path and a direction where we want to go and where we need to go. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take we're playing a little bit of catch up, as everybody knows. But we have started that path, and by adding this position, it'll just help boost us to do more and be more proactive on our maintaining, of our heating and cooling equipment and our jail. It's definitely is an issue. It was an issue when I got here, and training somebody in and showing them what to look for and what not to look for and ways to go about it are definitely helpful within the department and helpful for the benefit of Todd County in general. The more we can do, the more money we save.
Well, we'll go ahead.
I think also, when we were going through the financial meeting the other day, and when you brought up even the Expo bathrooms and how we can figure it out for expense-wise to go ahead and do that improvement next year. I mean, the cost saving was unbelievable.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, it's something that, just to elaborate on that, we talked about, redoing the showers and redoing the dividing stalls and making it updated, if you will. And that's something in my prior practice that I'm very, very comfortable with doing. We get the stuff now at a retail cost, at a wholesale cost. So that's going to save us money. Plus all the labor that is involved, we'll do ourselves. And also we can be inspected because my license and now I have us certified through the state. We can go ahead with anything and do any type of activity we want as far as plumbing goes with our general inspections because of the licensure that I carry. So.
Well, I've always been a big fan of the taxpayers have paid for this, so it's our responsibility to take care of it and maintain it.
Absolutely, and that's what we're trying to do the best of our ability, and we'll just keep plugging away. It's a never-ending process, that's for sure. But
maintenance is
it's key. It's key. Otherwise, things just deteriorate, and if they're not caught, especially in an emergency situation, if I have to pay somebody emergency to replace something, man, that price significantly skyrockets. So we're doing our best to limit those type of things. So.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Yeah.
So are we using any technology right now as far as, say, if air conditioner or anything goes out, it'll send a message to you on your cell phone?
What we have right now, we have, and this is a little bit of a catch-22 for me. We have a system called a Medisys system, and then we have a Train 5 system, which is in the Justice Center building. The Medisys system we update and have updated in the past, and is a very user-friendly system. It is something that's offered through somebody that does quite a bit of our maintenance, Johnson Controls. It allows us to look at and maintain and differentiate buildings and what the problems are and regulate temperatures and those type of things. The Train 5 system, however, is an older system, and from doing my research, it's very, very outdated, and it's very, very limited to the amount of people that know what's going on. So it's going to be an issue, which is kind of a thing in its own. It's only meant to basically show you what's going on with the equipment, and yet now we're going to have to replace it and update it for a cost. But as far as updating to where our cell phones are going, our next step is going to be that. Yes, we do get updates on our computer currently, and those type of things. If something is an alarm or something's malfunctioning, we do get those to come through to at least our computers through our system that we operate currently. So the only building that is separate from that is the Justice Center. We do not get updates on that. The only spot is that comes through what used to be Blair's office, and it is, I'm not kidding, the computer screen is the old green 1980s screen. It's kind of like, whew, but it works, and that's the main thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just hope for the best.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Chair,
Todd.
is there, as you update equipment, over the years and whatnot, is there a way to update that piece into the other system as
So-
you go gradually, or
So what we
is
do-
it something you have to do all at once to try to change it over?
What we have right now, and this is a little bit, I shouldn't say of a concern, but we operate off a pneumatic system. So as pneumatic basically is an air-driven system. All our thermostats are off of air, which actually make it simple to diagnose, for especially if you understand what's going on. But the problem is the type of equipment that we use, it's getting to be non-existent. So what happens is the parts go up in price. So at some point, we're going to have to make the total switch over where we're going away from the pneumatics and go towards low voltage control or wireless control. I am a fan of low voltage control because I'm accustomed to it. I'm not an IT guy, so wireless scares me a little bit. But yeah, there is going to be a significant change as we go forward. The best thing about that, though, is if we stay up with the times, and the medicine system is in good shape right now, and we've made a decision, and when and if we make a decision to go forward, we'll have that budgeted. So it's something we can plan for. The cost relative to the equipment is very, very cheap, but it is a substantial cost, in between the $10,000 to $15,000 range, and it depends how far we go with it. If we fully erase the pneumatic equipment and what it controls, then yeah, that cost obviously would go up. So,
Okay,
all right.
all right, thank you.
Anything else? So at this time, is it okay to ask a question? No, is this something that I can bring back to the board as a board action?
So, Mr. Chair, this would go as a board action on the consent agenda.
Correct.
If that's acceptable.
If that's acceptable?
Yep.
All right, thank you very much.
All right,
Thanks for your time.
anything else on the agenda? We will,
I hope I was the last
yes,
one.
thank you.
Thank you guys for finding that information.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.